Hello and welcome to Board Stupid. My name's Wayne.
And I'm Matt.
And we have our very special guest here today. We have Mr. Luke from Incursion Events. Luke, welcome along.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good, mate. Tell us all about Incursion Events and what it is that you do.
So Incursion Events is the events that I run in Lancing, primarily focus on Warhammer 40k, and with the revamping of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, the Old World, Warhammer the Old World, I'm running an Old World event later on. But primarily Warhammer 40k, that's the sort of main miniatures game that I play. Been playing it for many, many years. And we run all sorts of events. We've got a doubles, a teams, a grand tournament, which is a bigger type of tournament over 2 days than just sort of a one-day event. And just try to keep it as fresh as possible and give some sort of community offering, because I noticed there was just not actually that many prominent events in the sort of Worthing, Lancing area. There's a few in Brighton, but a little bit of a gap. And so I love running them and sort of being part of the community. So saw an opportunity and just took it, and they've been going strong for a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, and getting bigger and bigger.
Amazing. And for you guys that don't know what we're talking about in terms of Lancing, Worthing and stuff like that, it's the south coast of England where we're based. So again, the events that you run with Incursion Events, they are open to everyone. So if you want to go and have a little trip down on the coast, get some, have a swim, and then play some 40k.
Get very cold.
Definitely check the Incursion games. Of course, you will find all the links down in the description, and so take a look to the Facebook page. That is your main point of information. That's correct.
Yes. Yeah. All the info can be found via Facebook. Essentially, just run all the different calendar events on there. It's all very simple. You just look at the one you might be interested in. And there's links in the event description on each page for the rules, packs and stuff. So yeah, once you sort of find that place, it's the sort of one-stop shop, if you like, for everything that I run throughout the year.
Amazing. That's and we already started looking at the the tournament packs.
Be one of our practice games will be the GT in April for me. And then we'll see how we go before we get to the end of the year. So,
exactly.
And we're going to try and sneak along to cover one as well. So that's really fun.
So, for today, we want to chat a little bit with you, Luke, about we got some urgent questions that we really need some answer to. Let's just say, guys, if you're watching this, if you like it, just like and subscribe to the channel as usual. And I will say, let's dive in with the questions.
Let's dive in with those questions. Luke, what would you say are the main differences between 40k at the competitive level and then 40k at the sort of beer and pretzel friendly level?
So, holistically, almost nothing. I think the biggest, in terms of actually playing the game, they're very, very little. What they have created is some extra rules for something called matched play. So there's a couple of tweaks and restrictions to create balance. Versus in competitive play versus beer and pretzels. In beer and pretzels, the only limit is your imagination. There's a very cliched term that's been thrown around from GW in the past is forging a narrative, where they would encourage you to put your models on the table versus whatever your friends got. Just play a game, make up some fun rules. Just play for the experience, whereas match play in a competitive environment, it simply doesn't work, because at what point are you basically making up rules and things to basically just win? So you need a more structured framework, and outside of that's really the biggest difference. Really, the game is still very much the same. Some things have been sort of balanced a bit more in the rules, but I wouldn't sort of touch upon that now, because it's a very kind of ephemeral thing for me to try and sort of explain, especially if you've got people in the audience that don't necessarily play the game or are only just getting into it. They're just a bit more structured, but in terms of players playing it, it's still just people wanting to have a good experience. You've got that social contract in the game, like you would with a board game. You would want the people you're playing with to have a pleasant experience, and that's no different from competitive to casual.
A pleasant experience if you don't roll all ones. Yes, because Wayne's got these bad things that he rolls a lot of sixes.
It's always a pleasant experience
for him, not for the other people. But hey,
On to the next one.
My first question for you would be someone like me that I feel quite intimidated about going to this kind of events because I'm not really sure about the crowd, or I come from like back in the days, like a Magic the Gathering competitive scene, and I remember it not being the best scene, the best crowd sometimes.
That's a sweaty crowd.
And I'll probably
come at me, Magic fans. Come at me.
So my question for you will be, how friendly are these space? How friendly is a competitive tournament for someone that been playing for just a few months, or is not ready, is not a pro player?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I can count the negative experiences I've had playing in tournaments on one hand. The overwhelming majority of people, and I think this is something you could apply as a sweeping statement in all kind of hobbies and games, competitions, but the overwhelming majority of people are good eggs, and they want to be there for a positive experience. They might want to win, but they're not trying to hurt anyone, make a bad experience. So you are going to get individuals that are taking things very seriously and want to win. Now, that can sometimes create a little bit of a disparity of expectations going into the game. If you're someone who just wants to play for fun, isn't too worried about doing very well, but places more of an emphasis on fun and not really playing very tightly in the rules, that could create a bit of tension between someone who's a bit more, I want to play the game in a set way, competitively to win. So that can sometimes create a bit of friction, but it's not to say the community is bad in any way. I love the community, and that generally speaking, everyone just wants people to get better, to come to events, to make them bigger and better. And the competitive scene is generally, from what the people that, and you culture your own communities as well.
Yeah, of course.
You choose who you play with and who you want to be with. And if there's ever people that aren't kind of in that mindset, you have that conversation, or you just maybe choose different people to play games with at the end of the day. And yeah, the community is great, and the competitive scene at the moment is going from strength to strength. Games Workshop over time have got a bit better at making things a bit more structured and more balanced, which helps with people coming into that environment. Obviously, a tournament for the first time, there's that etiquette you've got to kind of learn, which can add to some of that sort of feeling of, I'm not really sure if I want to go. But I mean, every event that I've run, without fail, it's blown my mind a little bit, but there's always been a new person.
That's great.
This is my first event, and it's fantastic. And it's all just, even though, without being unkind, more often than not, they don't tend to do particularly well. They often just love the fact that they've gone there. They've met people they've not met before. They've played armies they wouldn't have played before, and they have a really good educational experience about the game that kind of just enhances they go, oh crap, I didn't know that you could do that, or that worked like that. That's really, really cool. So it just enriches the whole experience,
and that's great. So it's not just like, you don't just go there to compete. It's easy enough for you to go there, meet new people, play something different that is not the same army that your best friends play at all time, and don't just go there thinking that you're gonna win, because probably you're not gonna. But you're gonna learn. That's the good thing. It's just like any other board games, or when you play, the more you play, the more tactics and strategies and what units or cards does, and that's how you're getting better to that game. So
nice. It's nice to know that the scene is growing as well.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous. So people have got over the barrier of wanting to compete. They've signed up, they've paid their money, you're excited for them to come along, and they're excited to come along. But what are some good first steps for them to prepare before coming to the GT?
Yes, so the friends that know me poke fun at me, because I often say, I get a lot of questions as a tournament organiser, and my go-to response, very tongue-in-cheek, is it's in the rules pack. The question that you're asking me is readily available in the pack.
The answer to my question today.
it reads
properly. And it's funny. I joke about it because I see that I have that sort of perspective that I'd never sort of had before. when I would go, and still do when I go to tournaments, I read the rules pack front to back. I just do, because I don't ever want to be in a situation where something has happened that I didn't understand, but it was in the rules pack. And that's just how my brain works. So when I have people ask me questions, I sometimes think, oh, what? It just triggers in my head like, well, you haven't read the rules pack. Because if you had, you would know.
You would not ask,
and it's not me trying to sort of be weird. It's just, to answer your question, that's the best. One of the best things you can do is understand the framework and the structure, and it can be as simple as the terrain that's going to be in use. That might affect the army decision you make. And if you're just getting there for your first tournament, maybe you're not going to be thinking about those kind of sort of lower level things, but it just gives you knowledge and a bit of comfort and understanding. Right, I know kind of how the land lies, I know what time I need to get there, how to get there, all those little things. So that's the first one. And then as many repetitions and as much practice, whether that's, if you haven't got the opportunity to play physical games, totally fine, but digesting content is a fantastic way to do that. Even just watching battle. One thing I always recommend if people haven't got time to play is watch battle reports that involve your faction.
Yeah, specifically with your army, right?
Specifically with your army, because even if you're then thinking, you just might then be like memorizing unit stats. You don't want to be that person that when you first turn up and someone, you pick up a tape measure to move your first model and you're like, oh, what's their movement? And doing that every time, you multiply that over
it just breaks the game too much. And so it's kind of like, learn the rules, learn the tournament rules. So have a look at the tournament pack, at the mission packs, and the how the terrain works, and just read the rules for at least your own army. It's quite a lot, and I feel it on myself, but. The more you play, or the more, again, battle reports, or even just like, I spend a lot of time, for example, commuting to going to work on the app, literally just reading what my army does, what each unit does, and I'm like, all right, I remember this one. And you do it one every day, and in no time you will remember that got movement 7, that got movement 12, that can fire and fade, whatever it is, but you're gonna remember. Then of course playing on the table, that is when you actually but
love it.
There are a few ways.
Easy. Read the pack. Read the core rules. Read your own rules.
There's one other thing I'd say, and that's not if it's the first sort of thing that you're getting into, is not. It's really, it can be really, like you say, intimidating to sort of go to these places, but not really worrying about if you do something wrong or if I lose all my games. It's not. You got to kind of take that out of the equation. You're not there to win. You're there for the experience. And over time, if you want to play more competitively, or you just think I don't want to be losing, that's great. I always go to tournaments with the objective, I'm going to win that event. I never end up winning that event. I'm not good enough, but that's my objective and that's what I want to do. But I don't ascribe any emotion to the outcome of the event. I just, if I do, that's a bonus. The main kind of thing is just to go there, learn something, play a few games in a day with some people, and just enjoy.
Sort of managing your own expectations, really, isn't it? So go there with an intention to do well, but don't be upset if you get your ass beat.
No, but that's normal. It's like when you have those like very bad ball games days or weekends where you don't win a single game, and then we had something like that last night, isn't it? We were playing a couple of games and we lost all the games, but hey, that was still fun.
Still fun, exactly.
Enjoy the experience.
Definitely.
Look, is there like an etiquette on the
unspoken rules?
The unspoken rules, like around the table. So what do? I go there and present myself to my opponents, and then what?
Shake hands and hope for the best.
Do we shake hands? Do we
wrestle?
Have a wrestle fight? Have a wrestle fight to see who goes first? So what's the normal? What's the normal thing? Okay, you get there. And,
expectations for the game, for sportsmanship and whatever.
Yeah. So back in the day, we used to do. You'd see a lot more like printed army lists, but in the world we live in now, where we got apps and everything's kind of at your fingertips, people people actually just kind of, I found there is a greater amount of people that know what my army does more than what it used to be. Because they just wouldn't have had the book, and the book would have been the only physical thing, and dodgy PDFs were a bit more frowned upon back then, and easily more policed, whereas now it's like in a matter of weeks it's all leaks. And so you don't, it's ensuring your opponent is having a basic understanding of what you can do, and it's really hard to you don't want to talk through every little rule you do, but just very high level. This unit is very good in combat, this unit is very good at shooting. You know, I can move out of sequence with some stuff with this stratagem. Just a summary of the key kind of gotcha things that can create feel bad, because you don't want to necessarily sit there and not say anything about it and then go, haha, I can do this thing.
Boo, I can.
And then your
unit's dead.
It's like, well, if you told me that at the beginning of the game, I wouldn't wouldn't have walked into that head first. So that's
good etiquette.
That is good etiquette. And there's once, as long as you kind of stated you can do that, then that's the main thing. And I would say just it comes back to what we said before about practice and understanding your rules. You want to be conscious of the time. I'll put 3-hour time limits in my events.
Is that a standard amount, is it?
It's become a bit of a standard. It sort of has crept up from 2.5 to 2:45 to 3, C3 quite a bit. And that just gives you a comfortable amount of time. And if you're not finishing your games within that time, then you've got to be working on that in some way. And that could be, when I play Horde armies, so I put them all on movement trays. And I talk less in my games when I play those kind of armies. And sometimes I say to the people I'm going to move things I'm going to eyeball the movement and do it quite quickly. If you see that it doesn't look right, please just call it out, because I'm just doing it quickly, not trying to cheat you. So it's just trying to find ways you can. I even have buckets of dice for my other army where I have like a bucket of 20, 30, 40. I have that many attacks, so I can just go right dice. Done, and then not go.
That is
2, 3, 4, and all the rest of it.
That's pretty interesting. That's probably very good to think. If you got if you chuck in a lot of dice, you don't want it to be like, all right, 1 and 2 and 3 up to 40. Could take a little bit.
Little piles. They'll stack a little. They'll have a little pile of 10 of one.
That's what I started to do.
So little shortcuts you can think of in that, because oftentimes people will, when it's not their turn, they'll just chill. They'll just sit there and phase out. And if you're not thinking about what you're going to do or how you're going to react in your opponent's turn, that can take time out of the game as well. So that's another thing to do. In terms of other etiquette, I think it's just trying to remember that that whole social contract is just having a pleasant game, just talking very nicely, and crystal clear communication with your opponent.
Super important, I think.
I did some movement earlier in the game today, and I was saying, look, it's my intention to be outside of a certain range, so I've just done what I think that is. So that's my intention. So if it looks like I haven't done that quite right, then I'll move it back. That's fine, but I don't want to be shot. That's my
it's so doing something, being clear and agreeing with your opponent that, you confirm that if I move here you can't see me. If he says yes, that is a yes. Then if after that he says no, he's a naughty boy. But that's the main thing.
There's a big one with charges. So when you want to get into close combat, you have to roll 2 dice, and that's the distance you move. And when you see a lot of people, they'll say, right, I'm going to charge that unit. They'll roll the dice, and it will be a number that's just about probably what they need, but maybe just out. And then they're measuring, going, oh, that looks out. And then when it's so close, that desire then creeps in that they want to make the charge, and then they find themselves talking their opponent into, no, I think that's in, and then it's actually, no, it's out. I'm really sorry. So a really good habit just to cut through all that noise is to measure it first. Right, I need 6 on that charge.
You agree the numbers and that's it.
And
And
then you roll the dice, and then there's no awkwardness, because at that point you're establishing a fact rather than trying to kind of and then all of a sudden you go to adjust it and I've moved the model a little bit and it's awkward. So that's a good thing to do. It comes under the clarity. Just be crystal clear, make your intent very clear, and that helps the games kind of not become fraught with any kind of ill intention or bad feeling. I think that person was being a bit tricky, but actually they're just not a very good communicator.
And anyway, in general, just be a nice human being, as you should be anyway.
As you should be. Yeah, quite. Good stuff. Okay, we've got another burning question for you there, Luke, because we are going to be keen competitors, as you know, doing our journey to the London GT.
To getting
our
That's
beat Red Raw.
That's the reality, we all know.
Yeah, so, but in general, if you're starting out, does the meta matter? Because I see so much about the meta for 40k and how much that has an impact at like high level competition. Does it matter for those starting the journey?
In there's few possible words, no, it really doesn't. And it kind of actually reminded me of when you're talking about the community and what's the community like. Sometimes you see a little bit of this, particularly around the meta and how people can kind of come across online. The online community can sometimes, in any community, be a bit toxic. And it's just the internet is a strange place, and so you sometimes hear a lot of people's negativity about the meta and the game, and that can kind of give the competitive community a bit of a bad name as well. But really, it's all just noise and opinion and irrelevant. And the reason why I stand by it being irrelevant, particularly if you're someone just getting into the game starting out, is you've got enough to contend with learning the rules, reading the rules pack, and everything else about your army and figuring all of that out before you worry about, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, okay, there's certain armies, I'm not even going to list them because it could be any army at any point.
It changes all the time, right?
Changes all the time. But if you're concerned about the top 3 armies at the moment, I'm going to tune to beat the top 3 armies, and you go to an event, you might not play those armies. You literally might not. And that's the beauty of these things. Yes, the metagame exists, and it's a thing that you can think about, but you might not play them.
Yeah, I guess
literally you could be literally wasting your time, effort, and energy. Where it does come into play is people talk about like the winning metagame. So if you're at a level where you're thinking, I'm going to try and win events,
I want to win,
do really well. What are the, round 5, you've won all your games.
You're going to meet one of these.
It's more likely you could be meeting against top army. You also might just not.
But however, but if you won your first 5 games, well, good for you.
Yeah.
That means that you're already like a very, very good player. Because I'm sure that if tomorrow I get the army from the last LVO winner with the same army, even if I study all day and night for weeks, I will still not win the tournament. Not even close. I might not win any game. So it's
practice is better than a theoretical army, right?
Yeah,
sure.
100%. 100%. And if you, what's good to do is understand. Thinking of ancient military tactics. Understand your enemy, know your enemy, but in terms of 40k, don't bloody worry about it. Don't think, oh, my army can't beat Eldar, or my army can't beat this, or I'm really struggling about this. Just play the games, and then that sort of epiphany might come later. Worry about how to beat them later once you've practiced a few games first, because it's all just theory. And you see a lot of armchair sort of specialists where they've got their 2 cents on this, that, and the other, but nothing, as you say, beats practical experience and learning your army and how you can pull all sorts of tricks out of situations and doing stuff. Which over time will give you the edge in those kinds of games.
And you see it all the time when you see tournament results and people that do tournament reports. Quite often you'll see a weird list that wins because someone's just played with that list for that long enough. For that long, they just know it inside out, and they just pull out a victory with a weird unit that everyone goes, that's not the meta thing, but it just wins because they've played with it forever.
And then becomes the meta. And then everybody copies it. And that is not meta anymore. So, the meta is a thing of the internet, is a thing of math sometimes, but it's...
For us, not as important, I don't think, Matt.
No,
not as we're starting
definitely
out.
not.
We'll try our best to win, and if it points us to that direction, we'll follow. But if not, then we'll crack on with what we've got. I've got a kill rig today. Great fun.
Yes. That's the other thing about tournaments as well. Going to events is, I touched on it before, you see armies that you don't necessarily expect. So if you're, even if you're at a point where you're thinking, no, I don't think your advice is sound, Luke, I want to focus on the meta game and play it. You could then just see something else in the meta that unsettles your list. So there's an element of rock, paper, scissors and balance and all the rest of it. So you could, even if you believe wholeheartedly that meta is the way to go in approaching a list and doing this, that and the other, you can still fall foul of it. And it's happened to me playing Magic the Gathering, and you talk about Magic, you go to an event with a certain deck that you think, well, I'm going to be attacking the meta game against this deck, and then you play against Little Johnny with his combo deck, and it completely destroys it.
Yeah. Been there before.
You just think to yourself, why did I bother? Why did I bother? Just play your army, practice your army, and get good at that.
And enjoy it.
Because
at the end of the day, we always say it is a game, and you should enjoy your game. It's not.
Mate, yeah. Then it's not fun anymore. Luke, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
That's good fun.
Thank you for showing me specifically some great tactics and rules and strats in 40k as you bring your nasty Chaos Demons to bear on my poor Orky boys. Tell us one more time where they can find Incursion Events for anyone in the south that wants to do some competition down here.
Yeah, so right down on the south coast in Lancing, check out Incursion Events on Facebook or on YouTube, and you'll find the link to the Facebook one way or the other, and that's got all the events listed there in little sections on Facebook, and that will detail everything that you need to know for any given event, all on there.
Yeah, we will say check out Luke's YouTube channel because there's some great strategic advice.
Luke just mentioned it, but we're gonna put the link down here.
Yeah, it's really
if
good.
you wanna actually learn the game, definitely go and check his channel, because that's what we're doing. We were talking about earlier. I was like, that was really interesting because I didn't know about that, and now I know it, and now I feel
Luke's
a
come
better
round
player.
here to do some recording and play a game with me, and I'm like, I feel like I should be paying you for the advice that I'm getting in this game. Anyway, if you liked this content, and you really should, you should check out the rest of our stuff. And what else do they need to do, Matt?
Well, like, share, and hit the subscribe button, because that is what actually helps everyone making more content, making better content, and everybody to enjoy.
And then go check out Luke's videos as well. So, yeah, absolutely. But what do you think? What is your advice for first-time competitors? What is your advice? If you've been to an event, tell us what was your experience, because we'd really like to know.
Yeah.
What is the experience of the community in 40k going to competition, GT level events, and what should we expect when we get there? Until you do that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again real soon.
Ciao.